So, in the midst of this whole COVID-19 pandemic and the fact that I can't train, a lot of us can't, and we're all stuck inside the house, it led me to do a lot of reflecting. So, I thought I would talk a little bit about my journey, what led me into joining martial arts, and really the undeniable benefits that I received. And hopefully, through sharing this experience, I could have other people watch this video and say, well, it's a lot easier to make that choice now. I actually tried martial arts at a real young age. I joined karate and I took to it like a fish to water. I mean, I absolutely loved it. It felt natural. I had a sense of community and progress. And I mean, I was absolutely obsessed. I knew this is what I wanted to do with my life, but I just had no idea of how to go about it. And fast forward a little bit further into that journey, I realized I didn't like math homework as much as martial arts. So I wasn't doing that and I had to be taken away from my karate classes in order to focus on schooling. And this whole situation with the COVID is actually making me feel like that same sense of having it taken away. And when something is such a pivotal aspect in your life, it can be kind of jarring to have it taken away like that. And it reminds me of a time when I didn't have it in the first place. If I go back to the time that I really most needed martial arts and I was happy that I found it, was right after high school. At this point, I was around 220 plus pounds. I was unhappy with myself and with my life and the direction I was taking. I had a sort of a quasi sense of direction, but I didn't know where I wanted to take it. I knew I was good at English and writing and all that similar skills, but I didn't know how far that was going to take me and how passionate I was going to get. So after I was done with high school and done with football, which was my only other physical endeavor, my only other sport, my only other experience, I had a sort of a void I wanted to fill. And I was looking around. I knew I had to have one more run-in with the PE requirement that most schools have. And that was in community college. And I figured, hey, why not do something I liked? Why not do something I was interested in martial arts? So I decided to take up Taekwondo. I actually have a few belts here to reminisce on my experiences with Taekwondo. I actually got to a decently advanced belt. I was throwing flying kicks and I was moving through the ranks, and I understood what it took to move through the ranks, to learn new curriculum, and to test myself with the belt testing process. And it was really cool. It was a really cool introduction back into martial arts, and it instilled in me discipline, the necessity to show up all the time to train, and most importantly, the expectations that your coaches and your instructors are going to have for you when you're actually putting effort into a martial art. They're going to expect you to progress and put all of your effort into it. So you shouldn't try to shortchange yourself. And in college, I really found that love for martial arts again, and it was that stepping out of my comfort zone into something I had no prior experience with, in order for me to realize how many benefits and how much of a new leaf this would bring into my life. I mean, this was a new beginning, this was a new chapter, and I knew it was something I wanted to do, and it was something I was passionate about. So by that point, I knew, okay, so what's the next direction? Where do I need to go from here? Because I knew I liked Taekwondo, but there was something more that I wanted to learn. So I started looking for other places in which to train more martial arts after I was done at community college and after I had transferred. Fast forward into me walking into Mindset Martial Arts, a local CTA affiliate, and the school I train at regularly now. And I absolutely fell in love with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I was obsessed. It was tough at first. It was tough. There was a definite learning curve. I was struggling with certain things. There was a lot to learn, and it was that same learning curve and necessity to stick to the grind and not set low expectations for yourself, to have expectations and to really thrive under the pressure that your coaches put on you, because that's what's necessary to grow. So I struggled early on, and it was a grind and it was tough, but it was something that built my character and helped me develop so much that it was an absolutely instrumental aspect of my life. And I feel like I underwent a metamorphosis after joining it, because it really brought me into this new mindset of constant improvement and what it takes to truly improve. And that is stepping out of your comfort zone, pushing yourself, testing yourself, so you have an indication of where your limitations are at and how to address those limitations and improve upon them. Fast forward to today, it's been about 2 years now that I've been training jiu-jitsu, and I've experienced a handful of things that are absolutely necessary if you want to continue doing something with the same purpose and the same motivation. I realized that I need to show up all the time, and that there was no trying to keep myself safe or trying to preserve my ego. There was no ego when it comes to this. You have to absolutely address all of your shortcomings and problems first. And the ego wants to protect us from those things. But in the realm of martial arts, that's the number one barrier from improvement is your ego and not wanting to improve and thinking you know too much or thinking you know more than you actually do. Because there's not only the mental aspect of knowing it, there's the physical aspect of practicing it and ingraining it into your mind as muscle memory. I first struggled. When I first joined, I struggled to keep closed guard. I didn't know many submissions. I didn't know any sweeps. And it was tough for me to even just get through a round, cardio-wise. I kept at it, I kept at it, and I kept at it. And sooner or later, I realized I had dropped down to 165 pounds, which is now basically my walk-around weight. And I had lost all this weight, and I had gained so much more composure, ability to govern myself on the ground, ability to preserve my energy, breathe, stay calm. And it was through the hard times, the trials I faced, through the harder rounds that I didn't really come up on top. Those were the rounds that built me and built my toughness and built the fortitude that it takes to go into hard training and come away with all the positives and the lessons that you need to improve day in and day out. Eventually, I found myself wanting to compete, and I knew that I wanted to get a sense of competition again because that's what I really wanted deep down, was to test myself. Once I got into competition, it gave me a far greater indicator as to what I had to do in training, more than the whole amount of my previous training altogether. My first competition, I failed to get on top, and I was in a closed guard the whole time, didn't sweep or anything, and I lost. And I felt the sense of not being able to do anything. So then I focused on being able to do things from closed guard, and that's what really pushed me to get better at sweeps and closed guard and getting on top, because I knew that was the only way I was going to win competitions. I can't just hang out on my back and hope for a submission. I experienced good moments in competition, hard moments, winning, losing, and I know now what it takes to be successful at competition. But it took those trials, it took those and I only learned these aspects in the past 3 competitions that I participated in. I mean, my first 3, and I've taken so many lessons from each one. And I think that's one of the more important things that jiu-jitsu has instilled in me, is that there's always a lesson behind everything that you do. Whether you come up short in competition or whether in training you're not accomplishing something that you want, that's always an indication of where you need to improve and what you need to improve on. So I want to end this video with something with a few things that I think everyone should keep in their mind if you want to walk into that jiu-jitsu school for the first time, or you're really just starting martial arts, something that can seem really intimidating and competitive when you first start out, but really it's all about supporting one another, helping each other get better, and acknowledging the truth, and the truth being that you have to continually improve, struggle all the time, push yourself to struggle in order to find improvement within, because that's the only way you're going to find it, is to test yourself. And with that being said, I want to introduce 3 things that I think everyone should realize and keep in their mind when they're first starting martial arts, BJJ, Muay Thai, whatever you get into. The first thing is that you're going to suck, even if you have experience. Let's say you go into jiu-jitsu and you have some wrestling experience. You're still not, that doesn't make you good at jiu-jitsu. You're not going to have the knowledge of submissions or sweeps or certain positions that are involved. And you may have a leg up on some people in terms of certain positions or certain knowledge. But the whole point of going into a martial art is that you're there to learn, and you're there to learn the entire scope of what's to be discussed. And maybe some things you're familiar with and some things you're not, but you're going to be bad at some part of it. And it's important to realize what you're bad at. Maybe you're bad at everything, and that's okay. That means you just need to improve all over the place. But when you realize that you have shortcomings, that's the first moment in realizing what they are, how to improve them, and how to build yourself up and not have those shortcomings the entire time. Because the ego can be a barrier to improvement, and some people will let these shortcomings develop into weaknesses that they're just not addressing, or that's just not a fine-tuned part of their game. And that's another barrier to improvement. The next idea that I think people should have, and this doesn't just apply to jiu-jitsu, this applies to pretty much any aspect of life, is being coachable. You have to acknowledge the fact that you're not an expert in whatever you're doing. And maybe you are an expert in another area of your life, and you're not used to people critiquing you and breaking you down and nitpicking at every little thing that you do wrong. But this is the way that you improve. This, leaving your comfort zone, pushing your ego to the side, and acknowledging that you don't have a skill in something or as refined of a skill in something in order to be instructed and properly shown that skill. It's gonna suck when you try to do a technique and a coach comes up to you and says, yo, that was terrible. That was garbage. But the next moment, right after that little stinging of your ego being hurt and you being told you suck at something, is the moment that the coach is going to show you how to properly do it. And the more and more you practice on properly doing it, the more you'll find you're doing it correctly, and the more you'll find that it becomes easier to perform correctly and to remember to perform correctly. Getting past your ego and getting past the self-preservation aspect of the ego is vital in improving yourself in martial arts or in any aspect of life. Be coachable. Be accepting of criticism and use it and apply it directly to yourself to improve. Because when a coach criticizes you, they're not trying to break you down. They're trying to expose what you need to work on so that it becomes clearer to you where your effort should be going. The secret, and a lot of people think there might be a secret or there might be a formula to becoming good at jiu-jitsu. The secret is show up every single day. Show up all the time that you can. Go to training. Maybe even more. Maybe show up more times per week or more times in a day. Push yourself to what you can do and push yourself to do the most that you can do to improve as much as you can. Keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Keep drilling. There is nothing better for improving your martial art, your skill, whatever it may be, than practicing and refining that skill, finding areas where you're coming up short or that might not be as strong in that skill and improving them and practicing them. And constantly criticizing yourself in order to self-improve. That is one of the most important aspects of martial arts and in starting any difficult endeavor in life, is to keep showing up, keep practicing, and never giving up. Because there's going to be ups and downs no matter what. But the important thing is that you take those ups and downs as lessons in and of themselves. They're there to provide information with which to apply to the weak or strong areas of your skill and improve upon them. It's hard at first, and really the aspect of discipline is the most important part when it comes to jiu-jitsu or any other martial art. So the faster that you can instill a sense of self-discipline and grind in yourself, and the ability to continuously practice and ingrain these movements, skills, or whatever they may be in your mind, the better your improvement will be and the faster you will improve. Overall, I just hope this video helps people to realize that anybody could walk into a martial arts school and anybody could start something that's difficult. The hardest part is starting. So once you reveal to yourself the aspects that are more difficult, maybe taking criticism or staying consistent in your practice, once you realize the difficulties of those things, navigate them, and you're able to push past them and embrace the entirety of the grind, that's when your improvement will skyrocket, and that's when you'll truly unlock for yourself the greatness that lies within.